It was like too much driving to trying to go to
I know it's that staging project where everything's a milestone.
Somebody else, ain't gonna be you, oh, yeah? No hot out tonight. Oh, okay. Thank you.
It's warm in here and I wore my sweater tonight.
Yeah, I learned not to wear anything like that. Sweaters.
It's usually sweaty. I'm usually cold, but we've had that discussion.
Yeah. Every catch up.
Probably gonna be this in front of us if they want to know why we're gonna have 68. Don't have all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Got to say.
Well, I keep my guy in winter because we have a gas, we've always had gas main, just had it replaced. And it gets so hot when that thing starts running. Yeah. Like there's no oxygen in the house.
Well, it's it's a good thing. Some natural gas.
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad. That's a little costly.
Yeah. But it's not. It used to be a much difference between gas and electric. Quite a few years now.
You have a gas motor?
Yep.
It's
Conventional. Got some neighbors that put in one of those instant ones in there. They love it.
we could probably change that for different hospitals, medical office buildings. But we still use a hybrid that has a tank, but it has 2 instant heaters on it. And we've actually taken boilers out to install those things.
Yeah.
So hotels and air, we put them in those. All of Benson's has.
Yeah, that's on them, and it makes sense, but I've also, of course, they're more expensive in burst, so they're also more complicated repair potential. You don't think so?
No, they're plug and play.
Okay.
So, no, I was just gonna say, the hotel rooms, do they have a unit that's big enough to cover more rooms, or they have to put one in there? No, like the hotel across from the Classic Center, we've got 6. The main duo. Okay, and they got storage capacity. Each one has 100-gallon storage capacity. Oh, okay. Each one can generate, 500 gallons of heated water an hour. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a lot better than having one in every point of view. Yeah. Now, these are commercial size installation.
Yeah, okay. None of the residential ones, I'm sure they, like Brian said, heats at every point of use, or?
No, you would have one for your whole house. What I do recommend, though, is you put a return lines, because it takes so much water movement before you start generating hot water. And example, if you turn on the lateral faucet, and it's 0.7 1.75 gallons a minute, but then you've got to move 1.2 gallons a minute for the heater to come up.
Okay. Okay. So you gotta move more in those systems than you do a conventional.
That's it, but you got a circulating system that keeps the constant temperature.
Gotcha.
I know, but it's been a while. It's been a while, but I knew that most of them, when they first came out, they were like, put one like in the bathroom.
Yeah, those things, you won't find that.
They're about out of it.
Yeah, that didn't take long.
Right there by the water.
Like a retrofit that one. The exhaust and fluid on an instantaneous one is different than just a normal hot wire.
It depends on the unit you buy. If you buy one, you can still use your conventional, but most of the ones now, that come out and we install, they have a PVC intake and exhaust, and your biggest concern is the condensate because it's moving so much air through it.
I looked at that one time, and I also looked at, like, more efficient heater. And they were talking about some of the kind of metal fluid, that they're like,
Hi. Yeah, sure.
That has been an interesting, how that resolved, and it's changed to now it's migrated over to the heating. The water heating is conditioning the air. And now that's perfect.
Okay.
And as much as anything, efficiency of the units.
I'm not taking much junk, which I'm saying collectively. Yeah. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, good evening, everybody. It's, minutes past 6, we'll call our regular business meeting to order. Obviously, I am not Chairman Todd Higgins. I am Derek Doster, Vice Chair, and he's out of town, so I'll be managing the meeting tonight. I still retain my voting privileges, so we do have a quorum, so we'll get started with the meeting. And I invite you to stand for pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Next on our agenda is the approval of our minutes from our October 28th regular business meeting and our November 4th agenda setting work session meeting.
I make a motion to approve.
Second. Motion by Mr. Kirk, second. Adams, any discussion? If none, Mr. Adams?
Yes.
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 Motion carries. So our next appointment in the agenda item is, business involving guest group for visitors. And we have Charter Spectrum here. Josh, you bring your running buddy? Are you by yourself tonight?
I'm just by myself.
All right, so you left Miss Catherine at home.
That's right, that's right.
All right.
You'd have a much better time with her if she was here, but you'll have to do with me.
We're gonna hook him up to the computer screen so he can give y'all a presentation.
Okay. Thank you.
Y'all want to have these,
Okay.
Josh, how long have you been with Charter? When did you leave the state?
I left the state just about a year and a half ago, 18 months ago. Yes, sir.
That's where we're going.
So I'm all connected.
Okay, and then you should make the corporate presentation and slide with K to open news.
Oh, sorry. Oh. Oh. That could be, just be some of my computer here. I do. Oh, thank you. Oh, wonderful. Okay, well, first, just thank you so much for the invitation to come out here and speak with y'all. It's always a good opportunity when I can get out of the Atlanta area. Air's a little nicer. I grew up in the hills of East Tennessee, so did not grow up in the city, so it's always good to get a little time out here. As you already hinted at, I'm Josh Hildebrand. I'm Director of State Government Affairs for Charter Spectrum, and I've been with the company for just about 18 months now. Before that, I worked for the state for in different capacities for about 6 or 7 years, and my last 2 years there, I was a part of the Georgia Broadband office. So an office I was stood up by Governor Kemp to address this issue of connectivity in rural parts of Georgia, and expanding broadband access, reliable, future-proof solutions for the good citizens well outside of the cities. And again, about 18 months ago, came over to Charter, and it's been a great time. Charter's doing lots of expansion to rural parts of the state, and this is just one of those many communities. So just a little bit about Charter. While we're a little smaller in the state than some other providers, Comcast and AT&Ts and folks like that, we are quickly growing and growing all the way across. You can kind of see there that middle from the west all the way across over to South Carolina. It's incredible. If you would have seen this map just about 5 years ago, it would have been all pretty much right there, either right around Athens, just in Clark County, or over on the western part of the state. Alabama is a larger state for us, but through a couple different programs, we're quickly expanding. In Georgia, about 460,000 customers served, 184 communities. I work at an office just in Duluth, so that's where I was beforehand. Live over in the Smyrna area, so it was nice to just come up this way from Duluth and the office there. And you can see we're making some sizable investments just in the state of Georgia alone. In 2023, just a little under $260 million in private capital from the company to expand coverage throughout the state of Georgia. Now, the reason why I'm here, and surely why y'all might know Charter Spectrum, or will soon know Charter Spectrum, is because of the expansion project that we are doing in the county. This map right here, while certainly a lot easier to see on the screens than on the handouts there, this is a pretty specific representation of the expansion that's happening under this project in Madison County. It is truly a county-wide project. all the way. There's really no specific geographical limit or scope to the project. It is all across the entire county, and these kind of red dots are showing, even though, you know, it's hard to see from here, gives you a general idea of where that expansion, and each of those is, if you have the map and you can zoom in, each of those are individual locations in the county. So it is a very large project that we were awarded and that we're now building out.
Those are existing customers or combination?
None of those are existing customers.
Those are all new customers?
Those will be all of the new locations that will be built with fiber. So right here is just a little bit of kind of the main points of the build. We were awarded a Georgia Capital Projects Fund grant. This was a program that was set up by the governor. He made the choice to utilize these federal funds for this issue, for this, this area of need in the state. And that was a program that was run last year, and we were awarded in 2023. So that's kind of when we knew that we were going to be able to build this project, and that we're going to have the proper support to do so. Give or take a couple dozen, roughly 4,000 Madison County unserved locations are contained within the project. Again, that map, right, the one we had before, shows that. And as I mentioned, it's kind of all spread out across the county. So no one specific area is being left behind, and it's not just focused in one little area. And then all locations under the award project that we have will be activated by the end of 2026. But I've got some good news on that, because that does seem, a good long distance away, and this is something I know is a great need.
Is the 4,000, is that individual homes and businesses? Or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That is correct. We'd call them locations,
okay.
Physical locations.
Okay.
So right here is an update of kind of where the project stands. And I came in with a smile on my face because I have some good news to share, and it's always a good feeling. It's important to know that when it comes to these sorts of projects, that 90% of the work that needs to be done is before anyone feels the impact of the project. Broadband expansion projects are construction projects. So you're talking about surveying, you're talking about permitting, you're talking about approvals, you're talking about working in right-of-ways, all the above, getting on poles. So it is 90% of the work has to happen before anyone is connected. But we're already completely done with our walkout. We're done with our surveying. We're done with our formal design. That is when we literally, our engineers go through and they say, down this road for this many number of feet, we're going to put in this sort of plan. These electronics, this amount of fiber. Is it going to be underground? Is it going to be on poles? All of that work, and that takes a lot of months, as you can imagine, especially in Madison County. When you're talking about, how spread out it is, the number of mileage of plant that's going in is significant. So that does take a while, but that is complete as well. And then comes the permitting. Just like any sort of a construction project, that's where something can really get slowed down. But I'm happy to say that 90% of all permit applications are already underway, and 65% of all permit applications have already been submitted to the permitting agencies. So that is a major step there that large majorities of the project have already gone underway. And then the most important part is, have we started constructing? And the answer is yes. Already at this point, more than 2 years before the deadline, we already have over nearly 200 locations that have been activated. These are folks that can already subscribe and become Charter Spectrum customers. And I think something that's really important, and I learned all about this even before I got involved with the Georgia Broadband Office. Rural Georgia, rural Tennessee, wherever it might be, oftentimes you get, there's this feeling of kind of being left behind, that you just get these stopgap measures. What I can tell you is that what's going in here, what's going to be available to the citizens of Madison County is the absolute best of the best infrastructure and type of service that anyone across the country can subscribe to. I can say, being in Smyrna, I'm not even hooked up to Charter Spectrum fiber services. So in many ways, people in Madison County are going to be able to have better services than even the most dense parts of Metro Atlanta, and I think that's quite an amazing story being told here. At this point, what I can say again, with nearly 200 locations already activated, that will just increase every month. 100 here, 200 here, in perpetuity until the project is complete. We don't believe in waiting till the end to turn people on as one big, as a whole. If if we can serve you today, we're going to make that available so that you can get those services. At this point, we anticipate that project completion will be Q3 2026. The deadline is end of Q4 26. We're going to work very hard at this point, again, being so far already ahead in this project that we'll be able to move those dates up. But at this point, I'm a conservative guy. I don't like to overpromise and underdeliver, so that's why we got that Q3 date up there. But as those commercials say, but there's more. So one other thing I wanted to just give a quick little presentation overview on is what's coming next. And the next program is called the Georgia BEAD program. This is a very large program. You can see the state's allotment there, about $1.3 billion. And this is to be used to hopefully get all rural Georgians connected with future-proof and reliable services. A lot of money. I talk with the state daily, and they believe that they can accomplish this. And this is the next program in hand. I've got the website there so that you can maybe get a little bit more information. If you happen to be curious, I can also send this to Christina and talk some more at it. But just a couple little highlights on this. One is that this is another program that it has a very heavy preference on fiber services. That is the best of the best. They don't want to fund stopgap solutions. They want to make sure and do this right, and that's going to be their preference. Funds are prioritized to serve a couple different sorts of a location. One is an unserved location. That's a location that doesn't have even 25 free service. So that's 25 megabits down, 3 megabits in speed up. Not sufficient for today's time anymore. Then you have underserved locations. Those are ones that might have DSL or old copper services that can maybe get a little bit faster than that, but still not fast enough. And then lastly are community anchored institutions that do not have robust services available to them in order to perform their work that they need to do in support of the community. In the state, at this point, when we're looking at eligible locations, that's going to be the unserved and the underserved. About 165,000 locations left across the state that still need these services and are going to be eligible for this program. In Madison County alone, there's still about 3,300 locations that are eligible, and this is beyond the 4,000 that we're building. So, as you all know, I don't have to tell you all, there is great need in Madison County, and we would love and we are evaluating, and we hope to put forward a proposal in this BEAD program to try to serve the rest of the county. Another thing about this is that the state has been waiting a long time to stand up this program and run it. You have to get approvals out of Washington and all this stuff, and it gets slowed down. But thankfully, the time is upon us. The state opens their application window here in just about 2 weeks, and they'll run it through middle January, and we'll hopefully announce the applicants that have been awarded a little later in 2025. Applicants have 4 years to complete the projects. There's incentives to build faster, 3 years' time. But again, that's the wonderful thing about having already been awarded in Madison, is that we don't have to wait. We're already building a sizable project to reach over half of the unserved and underserved locations in the county. And then lastly, the state stood this up for a reason, I believe, that in this decision, and that is that community support matters a lot. There's nothing worse than having, being a commission, being a citizen and learning, oh, someone's coming and building in our county, but we don't know who they are, we don't know anything about this. So they greatly incentivize getting community support. And you can see there, 9 points out of 100. And oftentimes it's 1 or 2 that makes the difference on if you're winning that RFP or not. There's a lot of points they point towards this, and we would certainly love to have the county support and to work with y'all to try to get more buy-in from the community if we choose to apply within the BEAD program. So I know that I think I'm just about at time. I was told about 10 to 15 minutes, so I'd love to open it up to questions on what you have here. And I know that there's a lot of information there, so certainly feel free to know that I'm going to open myself up in the future to questions from y'all when you have them. Thank you.
The BEAD program the application is really geared, they want community support or government support, but it's geared for providers, right?
That is correct. Now, eligibility of, the list of eligible folks that can apply to try to put in an application and be awarded is robust. It is counties and cities and co-ops and traditional providers. Anybody can apply. That being said, certainly, I think that when looking at how these projects are done and the amount of effort and expertise it takes to do this properly, I think that best model is a provider that goes and gets significant community support so that they can march together towards trying to make this a reality.
And BEAD is really geared for those underserved, I mean, we'll say rural areas.
Yes, sir.
It's not to
Absolutely.
just get bigger broadband in downtown.
Oh my goodness. If you take a look, and I can help show this as some greater resources, if you look at the eligibility map, I mean, it looks, you've got spots all over the county, and then you just have giant holes around the cities, and there's nothing eligible there. You cannot get funding for a location that the state has not identified as eligible. So, I mean, again, the intention and the safeguards in place to not waste these funds, are significant. It is purely for reaching the hardest to serve locations. Locations that, I'm sure those spots in Madison County where you got one home on a 2-mile road and there's nothing else until you get to that home. That's what this program's for.
Well, on another note, how quickly are y'all updating, I'm gonna say the state or the federal maps where you can go in and like type your address and it shows you who your service providers are or what you can get? So when y'all bring a new line, new location online, what's the time frame when somebody says, either they're looking at it, I mean, if you didn't ride by and give them something in their mailbox,
That's right.
sign up, but if somebody didn't know and they were like wanting to move or buy a piece of property, how fast are y'all updating that information?
So the largest updates happen every 6 months. And one thing I can say is that a recent update, one of these 6 months updates just occurred about 10 days ago. So when looking at, and again, this is something that we can help with, walk through, kind of show the tricky little things, what filters to put on and stuff. Again, that update was just done about 10 days ago. But again, all of it's always retroactive. So it's like data as of 6 months prior to that. You're just working, you never can get caught up. So when looking at it and saying, hey, can you give us a list of serviceable locations, in the county right now, you reach out to us, and that's something that we can provide in real time. And we're always glad to do that.
Good. The community letter support or community letter or community support letter or whatnot, I think we did, again, we can't be, singular.
That's right.
But I think we provided one, and I'll call it a generic one. We did that one not too long ago, so.
Absolutely. We appreciate that.
Any other questions, John?
No, we're good. I mean, literally, the recent signed spectrum.
Yes, sir.
And in regards to the people that you have canvassing the community there, in my district, there's someone that there, as soon as the guys clear the pole and it's been tested, I mean, within 2 days, there's someone at the homes, and we've had more positive response, you know, particularly on Facebook for years, regarding the services being provided and all also, so we certainly appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Well, we'll allow them to be quicker and more efficient in their Facebooking, as soon as they sign up.
Everybody good?
Good.
I appreciate you making the trip out.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Glad to. Anytime. We'll be happy to give routine updates. Now, again, you know, if it's every quarter or something, it might not be all that big of an update, but if we're talking maybe twice a year or something like that, or honestly, as often as you want it, you know, we'll provide these updates along the way.
Sounds great.
And we'll hope for a good outcome and be.
Yes.
All right, moving to our next items, we have another, guest that had signed up to speak, Dave McCain. Is it Katie or Kate? I'm sorry.
It's okay, it's Kate.
Okay, just hit me like that.
No, most people, I've been Kate most of my life, so it's okay.
Been a lot of things.
Thank you. Okay, I am the agenda set of concerned citizens, that is true. I am coming regarding the rec department. I don't know if you all have been aware of the post on Facebook when they raised their fees and everybody just went wild. I mean, it's a deep dive post if you have time and want to read the comments. You may not be interested, but I just wanted to basically point out some of my concerns. And I understand things cost money. I'm not asking for our kids to be able to come and play free. I understand that, you know, it costs money to run places, to pay employees, and all of those good things. However, I do think that our money needs to be reevaluated, and that we really need to have good eyes on how it's being spent. At the rec department, a couple of things. This past year, we had the option, again, it was an option, to purchase pink jerseys for breast cancer awareness. Parents were asked to pay for those on their own. Again, if you wanted to, you didn't have to, but the cost of that was roughly $27. So, of course, everyone on my daughter's team purchased them, so we went along and wore them and everything like that. The thing that probably should have been looked at is we had 2 ball games outside the month of October. One was like the end of September. The other one was the 1st of November that we showed up in Banks County and the opposing team wasn't there to play us, which was a whole nother thing. But we probably all could have, if the majority of our games were in October, we probably could have done away with the jerseys that seemed to be the main cost when I asked what the fee increase was. I think it's great to support breast cancer. I hope that some of that money went to research. I don't know if it did or not, but that's just my thoughts on it. But I do think that money could have been cut there if the majority of ball games were played in October. We probably didn't have to have a white jersey and a pink jersey. Everyone could have just had the breast cancer jerseys. Or we could have put a pin on the jerseys or something in honor of it otherwise. I did speak to my commissioner, and he was informed that jerseys were a 2-year contract. I have some sample jerseys here if you guys want to look at them, feel them, see the threads coming unraveled, all that good stuff. But if it is a 2-year contract, my question there is, why are we raising costs? Because if the jersey was a 2-year contract, and that's what I kept hearing feedback on was, the cost of jerseys was why fees were being increased. Well, if it was a 2-year contract and we're in it another year, then our fees from this past year should have stayed the same, not been raised if we were in our second year of that. As you can see on the notes that I made here, I do think that parents who have multiple children should get some kind of cost break. Again, I understand it costs money to run things and all of that. However, when you're paying for 2 children at the new rate of $110 a piece, $220 is a little much for rec ball for what we get out of it, for what we get in return. I also think coaches who are volunteering their time, you know, as a parent, it is very important to me to have a quality person coaching my kids. I mean, it is my job to parent them at home, but when they're on that field, it's important to me that they are not degraded with everything they're said, you know, that they are built up, that they are having fun, that they are learning to play those sports. So I think that a small token of appreciation to those coaches is to give a discount for coaches' kids to sign up. There may already be a higher fee for out-of-county. I also don't know the percentage of out-of-county kids we have, but I definitely think that there, you know, should be a fee a little bit higher for those kids to come in. The next thing is our Saturday ball games. I have a second grader and a kindergarten, and 7:30 ball games on school nights are pushing the limit when you get home, get bath, get all the things. Excuse me, if we could go back to Saturday ball games. I remember growing up and being at the rec department all day long on Saturdays. I have 2 sisters, and it was either myself, one of them, or we were going to watch Friends. The rec department was packed on Saturdays. You just spent your time there. That's, you know, and so for these fields not to be utilized on Saturdays, and I don't know the reason. I don't know if it's because our staff doesn't want to be there or whatnot, but if we brought back Saturday ball games, even 2 of them a day, 9 and 11 o'clock were the examples, or 9 and 10 o'clock were the examples I gave, you would eliminate some of those late night games for school nights for those young children. Let's see. I live very, very, very close to Diamond Hill Ball Field, and those are 2 fields that the county has spent money to renovate, and I hope there are future plans to use, or let me rephrase that. I think the county has spent the money. I'm not sure who has, but I hope there are future plans of using those fields because they sit vacant, and it's just another opportunity to alleviate some of the parking lot issues at the rec department, to alleviate some of those late ball games. You can move games there. You can use those fields as needed for that. I don't know how many of you read my letter. I sent a letter to you guys. I don't know how many of you read them, but one of the concerns I had was the concession stand. It was unbelievable the amount of ball games that we showed up to this season. From, I will give it to Brewer Phillips. They had theirs up and running and on par most. So my youngest played soccer, my oldest played softball. And I will say the difference in the way the soccer program and the softball program was ran was a little crazy to me, how this program is so well ran and so well taken care of, and then we go to softball over here and it's like, oh, well, you know. So we would go from a 6:30 soccer game over to the rec department for a 7:30 ball game. The concession stand was boarded up. There was no one there running it. We would go to a 6:30 softball game and go to get concessions after, and they had sold out from the first game and weren't cooking anymore. And that was very plainly portrayed to us. The workers in the concession stand, which brings me to another point, I don't feel you can hold them accountable. They're teenagers. I mean, you know, these 17-year-olds are just doing what they're told to do, but they have no food. They have no hot dogs. They have no hamburgers. We came home from school, did some homework, got to a ball game, went to another ball game. We have to go home and get bath. I should be able to feed my children at the rec department. And when one batch of hamburgers and hot dogs is sold at a 6 o'clock game and no one recooks for a 7:30 game, that creates an issue there. I understand that there's probably some staffing issues, some short staff, some things like that, but there are things outside the box we can think of. Can we ask for parent volunteers? Because if I have a 6 o'clock game, I'll stay and work the 7:30 concession. If I have a 7:30 game, I'll come work the 6 o'clock concession. I can't speak for everyone, but these are things that other counties are doing that we have not tried, and I do think it's worth our time. It doesn't cost any money for volunteers. So, you know, we're not hurting anybody's budget if we are asking for parent volunteers to come and work these things. And we don't know if we will have the willingness if we don't ask. But I do think that that is, you know, a good place to start. As far as the funds, because that's what kept coming back with the different people that I've talked to, were these jerseys and how much they cost and everything like that. Have we made sure that the people at the rec department who are in these positions to get these things ordered, to get these things on players, have they shopped them around, or is it, oh, well, we placed an order with them last year, let's just do it because it's a click of a button and enter a quantity, and it's just so much easier than doing the legwork of making sure. I remember the days of Little League when my mom ironed a patch on a T-shirt. We were no better ball players wearing a T-shirt than we were these. You know, I'm fine with a T-shirt. My kids are fine with a T-shirt. They actually hold up better than some of these jerseys I have. So I just think that there are a lot of things that we really need to take into account here at our rec department. We have kids, we have parents, and we have the potential to really make a great thing, but we are letting it go by the wayside faster than fast. At $220 for my 2 children to play spring ball, if changes are not made, we won't be there, which really hurts me because I grew up in Madison County. My dad was a 30-plus year educator here. My sisters and I play ball here. My kids are in school here. It's not a good thing. I mean, we have real good potential here. And, you know, probably one of my main concerns is the lack of staff on property. You can call them during the day and it's hit or miss if they answer. And I know they have jobs. They're not just sitting at a desk. But to not see a staff member on property when there are ball games being played, concessions to be ran, scoreboards to be ran, lights to not be cut off by teenagers running these things. And I'm here for employing these teenagers. I would rather them have a job at our rec department than be out doing whatever else they can do to get in trouble. But we need staggered schedules. That is all this would take for whoever, Shelley or whoever's in charge, to sit down and say, you're coming in at noon today because we have 2 ball games tonight, and you'll be the employee in charge. You're coming in at this time. It's not rocket science. I just think that we need someone from up above, higher than the rec department, to come down on them and say, we have concerned citizens. We have people who are contemplating paying these increased fees for nothing in return, because the $85 that we paid this past fall is comparable to what we got in return. It's comparable. 110, absolutely not. No question. And I know when you're looking at it, you know, and again, I have multiple kids, but if you didn't, you're like, oh, that's not that big of an increase. If we don't make a change and we don't see things in return from our rec department, it's too much. It's too much. So thank you guys for my time, for your time to listen to me, and I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jen. Gentlemen, anybody have any specific questions?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'll say for us, for the board, I think you've raised some points that we need to attend to or look into most definitely. I'm not going to say I have any answers tonight by any means, you know, but we can definitely work with staff and try to get some ideas of how to address some of your concerns. You know, we can start small and work that way. That's what we do probably, but that's the way we'd have to probably attack it. But thank you for coming in. Thank you for sharing with us. I did not respond to you, but I did get your notes. I apologize for not responding to you.
That's okay.
But thank you for coming in. And that's how we learn some things too, is hearing from y'all.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you all.
Would you forward this to the rec department, Michelle, and Polly, and ask them to prepare a response specifically to the items on this list. And if there are, and I've no doubt that there are issues because we've all heard about it repeatedly, ask them to provide some corrective action for you. And, you know, if it's not an issue, tell us it's not an issue. If it is, tell us what we've got to do to fix it. Yeah. I think it would be short notice for them to provide that to us by our next meeting, but no later than the end of our business. Yes. Is that?
I think that's what's good.
I would like to say that the board here, speaking for us, we're looking at a lot of things to try to improve the rec department. That a lot of things got to happen, and it's got to take some funding. And so, you know, I'd say sort of be patient with some of these things. Some of these things we can probably do something about. Some of the others to where you're getting more for your money to say, you know, that's going to take a little longer, but we're looking, and I think this board is somewhat progressive in what we're looking at doing. In fact, we're looking at moving some things that are in that area over there so we can free up more land so that we can actually do some more fields, buildings, things like that that would enhance our rec department. And also, you know, the increase as far as the fee increase was not taken lightly. It was one of those things where that were looked at. We went to other counties close to us and looked at what they're charging. Now, I don't know what, you know, the value for what you're getting. There may be some differences there, and you may have pointed out some of those. But we tried to look at not to make it something that other counties aren't trying to do. So I just say, I think we can work together on that. And also, has anybody, I guess, Katie, since we have a rec board that's made up of citizens, has anybody contacted or talked to them about any of these issues?
I sent everyone whose email I could find on the rec.
The letter that you sent?
I sent them my letter. I didn't hear back from anybody, but I sent it to all.
But, okay. But other than that, there's been anybody attended any meetings or anything like that?
No.
Okay. All right. I'm just curious as to how, whether people really know that we have that, and I don't know that maybe that's what we need to look at where we've got some more.
Where are the meetings? Like, we don't know anything about
and
meetings
that's
or anything
the
like
only thing I brought up.
Yes, sir.
Maybe awareness is one of those things to where maybe some of these issues could be addressed, you know, like that by, you know, at some of these meetings with some of those folks so that they can be done more promptly or whatever. So
when y'all were
we'll
looking
look
at prices for the other counties, did y'all see what was provided in return?
Yes.
Because I know several provide a whole uniform as opposed to just a jersey or a hat that doesn't fit, and just.
Yeah. We had a lot of discussions about that, and I don't want to prolong this,
Sure.
but we had a lot of discussions about that. And, you know, supplying uniforms is sort of tough right now anyway. I'm familiar with MCYE, which, you know, my son was president of, and they're not associated with the rec department anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But they got the uniforms, and the uniforms are falling apart that they got, and they paid a lot of money for them. And they got Under Armour on them, so.
And we agree that times are tough on uniforms because we do pay our registration fee and then we turn around and out of our pockets buy more jerseys
Right.
also.
And see, that's one of those things that I'm not sure about that, why that should have been totally an optional thing about that pink, and we'll discuss that. All right? Thank you, though. I appreciate it.
Derek, if I could, just for a matter of information, on the Recreation Department website is the list of staff, but also the rec board, and that's where the rec board meetings and the time and the place are always posted. They're every other month, and lately they've been at the senior center because those lack of a building.
Okay.
So just for everybody's information, because we have to set aside the senior center nights for it. So,
Every time we look at, make that more prominent, or collaboration of our webpage or something, when somebody looks at our calendar, that's something maybe that could be seen too.
Just one question I'd like to ask y'all from a parent's perspective. And being a kid, y'all can chime in on this as well. Obviously, we have different locations. You Diamond Hills referred to, you got Myers Park over there. And obviously from a maintenance standpoint and from a management standpoint, that provides some challenges because your headquarters is here. So, in your mind, would that be something to look at to try to consolidate everything? Or do you think there's value in things being spread out the way they are?
I mean, I personally think that it's okay, like, our team practiced at Sanford, like right there at the community center, because our coach lives there. And I think that, you know, things being spread out as far as practice goes allows for a little more availability versus if everybody's at the hub of the rec department, then you're fighting for times and trying to get, you know, enough practices in. So I think practice-wise, it's okay that it's spread out. I think when we sign up for that, we understand, you know, that kind of goes into it. One thing that I didn't mention, we did have to travel this year because we didn't have enough home teams to play. And that was less than fun, but we did it. So.
Centralizing fine as long as there's sufficient parking. That's true. Yes. The parking is gonna be,
Well, thank you again. Thank y'all for making us aware. You know, we've got some homework to do.
Yep. Thank y'all.
the parking bit.
All right, next on the chairman's report. The only thing that I've got tonight is, the senior center, make everybody aware, the senior center is hosting a Medicare, Medicaid seminar on November 30th from 9:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And they'll have a licensed insurance advisors, and, they will be there to help you talk to you about some particular plans and whatnot. So, let you know about that.
It's at the senior center, but it's hosted by Camilla and Rebecca Scott.
They're providing the building.
Yeah, they're just utilizing the senior center.
The sponsors are Canales and Rebecca Scott, so community members there. Moving on, number 6, statement remarks from citizens on tonight's agenda. Coming forward, we'll move into our old business. Number 7, consider proposed recommendation for the water department employees transitioning over to county employees as we make our change, and more specifically, the defined benefits plan.
What you see is Chairman Morris sent over a letter on what the IPA voted on how they're going to invest the employees, the water department employees. And we have previously discussed allowing those employees to purchase prior years of service in the county pension plan. So this vote will be the official board vote to allow those employees to purchase prior years of service. And that will be capped at either the years of service that they've worked there or the defined benefit plan of the IDA. So I think that plan is coming up almost 5 years. So they can either, depending on whichever, they can't purchase more years of service than what they've actually worked. They can't purchase further than the life of that.
It's on our business for consideration. Do we have, I heard what you said, is there a, and I see Ben's letter, but
yes.
Is there?
So ACCG said there's not like an amendment to this because the county's just allowing them to purchase the prior years of service. But there's not an amendment like we did with the sheriff's office because they're they'll fall under the category of a BOC employee.
So if we use, and I'm just trying to be, for clarity purposes, since we don't have like a draft action item, is it better, number one, is there a time frame commitment? I mean, can we do this next week?
I think we can postpone it, and I can get Trey to draft something from ACCG for that has that verbiage.
Yeah, I guess that's why I just like a paragraph of.
Yeah, because this is just what they're.
Very simple, because you mentioned something like you can't buy more years in.
Okay.
That's, not that
Okay.
this is, you know, Ben's letter's asking for the purpose, but there's no like limitations to that. And I just want to be clear on,
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to legislate from the bench, so to speak. ACCG, and I know it's a crazy week, and then next Monday's coming quickly with the holiday, but that's something, when you send that or they send that, can, Mike, would that be appropriate for you to take a quick look at it?
I can look at it. I haven't had any conversations with him, so I won't know if it's reflective of what everybody expected or not.
Okay. Well, we'll postpone it unless there's any objection to that. We'll postpone that next week. Good. Number 8, intergovernmental agreement between the Industrial Development Billing Authority and Commissioners transitioning to the Water Department. Item number 8.
So what y'all have is the latest draft, but we're still working on it. There's a few things I think we might need to work out some details with, and I've spoken with Susan and Ben. There's also, in this packet, is all of the exhibits that are mentioned in the IGA. There's SPLOST funds that I have emailed the board about. Those funds coming over, what the IGA has voted on. We have to insert the specific SPLOST agreement, which Mike, I emailed you today. I told you I had missed that part and added that in. The water department and IDA, there's some of their financial statements towards the back of that packet, just for y'all to have to review. It just turned out to be, there's just a lot of information in here, and you have to, one board has to vote, then you have to wait to hear back from GFA, and I think, Mike, you reached out to bond counsel on how to handle the 2018 bond payment stuff.
Well, it doesn't require any changes to the bond agreement.
Okay.
Right.
So I think we're getting closer to the end of this draft. Do y'all have anything y'all want to add, Susan or Stephanie? Because I know Ben's here. If you've got anything you want to add, or any board has any specific questions, maybe we can kind of talk through.
When I looked, I didn't have any specific questions that I recall. I guess from a timing standpoint, and I'll just use the term cleanup, a little bit of cleanup that y'all need to do. Is that something y'all expect for next week, or is it?
I think that's our goal, is to try to get it done for Monday, but just to be realistic with the holidays and on everybody's work schedule, it may just be something that we have to push to and get a special call meeting. I don't think we need to wait until the December 30th BOC meeting to do. But I think that if we could all get on the phone together, we can get a lot of this cleaned up.
I just noticed on the exhibit D, so there's not a separate bank account with this, whatever SPLOST already been put over in the IDA.
No.
So which, is it in one of those accounts?
No, the SPLOST is under the BOC. That's in the BOC.
Oh, so
Yeah.
there's no unexpended SPLOST
No.
fund in an IDBA account? Good.
So what we have, which I'm glad you brought up SPLOST, and I can go over that real quick, because I've sent emails to you guys. The IDBA is at their meeting Wednesday, and then I want you to make sure my understanding is correct, is that there's some projects that they've already approved for this year, and there's some projects that the water department and IDA know that are coming. So they're going to turn over the $464,000 is the projected balance by the end of the year. They're going to turn over all of those funds to the BOC to work on the project. And they gave us a priority list on how they would see those work out. And then starting the SPOS revenue coming for 2025 and 2026, it'll run till June of 2026, all will go to the IDBA for economic development, not for water infrastructure. That's what they voted on, and that's their recommendation to this board. That's what we'll draft in the BS, in this IGA. It was just, we did put that in there, it was draft. And so the average monthly income from SPOS was about $35,000. I think we calculated a little over 630 is what the projected revenue is over a year and a half that the IDA would like to retain, and we take the remaining balance, the current balance for revenue.
For the SPOS monies, the revenue from SPOS monies can't be used for operating, so.
No, not operating.
Have y'all worked out the operation side of it?
Well, yeah, I guess generally with the 1 mil that's allocated by the BOC, you know, I guess roughly call it half of that is going to be utilized for other obligations, and then the remaining half, I believe, will be used for operating, and any of the SPOS revenue that's generated over the final 18 months of the life of that. With the potential project that we're looking at, that would be monthly revenue in to continue that going, and then see that hopefully through completion. Now, if at any point that potential project becomes unviable, you know, I believe there's a reason we could revisit this topic, and that water and sewer have other needs at that point. You know, and the IDBA doesn't have a project on the horizon, and that money, I do believe, needs to be allocated, utilized for something that goes towards the benefit of the county.
All right, thank you. Any questions, gentlemen? All right. Moving on to new business. We've got a preliminary plat application for Spratling Mill Phase 6. We approved this application. There's more than just preliminary plat. There's a total of 11 lots, I believe.
15.
Or I can't count 15.
It's total on the cover sheet. 15 lots.
Draw.
Okay.
Is anyone here from Capital Resource?
Right.
Does preliminary plat fall under zoning application? Or do we need to approach this summer? No public hearing. All right. Jim, you got your zoning package, or, sorry, preliminary plat package in front of you? Consideration? Motion?
I wish my thoughts, I wish I guess we need a motion.
Just leave, y'all look at this in P as equals. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I don't recall any questions or concerns at all. It's just another phase that follows the same suit as the previous, and we just did a phase not too long ago.
Okay. As far as y'all covered, I assume Tracy was there, that they, based on their the office's examination, they met all the criteria, correct, appropriate criteria.
This supposedly front sheet with a yes answer, right? Yep.
I know we looked at ingress, egress, it provides a 2 or 3-way in and out process. I think it actually links water lines from one end to the other, if I'm not mistaken.
There was some discussion at one point that there was gonna be an easement, because does the drive go all the way through, or it's like a dead end, and then there's an easement into the other road?
I think it goes all the way through.
Yeah, I think it takes the dead end and connects it back to the 29.
Do you have a visual of the whole thing? Or just
That's what I
bits into it?
I do have the big printout. I left it in the office. Want me to go get that?
Yeah. I do apologize for my tardiness, I just completely lost track of time. No, I had not. I had not.
Sorry, I didn't have these in my office. I didn't see them. I think there's more than one copy. That's the one.
So which phase is this? This information is just this one phase, and then show that fits into that.
Correct.
The rest of the more information. Show the whole thing.
If that follows the same order here, the second page after the cover page says that that is the preliminary plat you're approving. The rest of those are other aspects of the site construction plans that may be part of what's required for submittal, I'm not sure. But we're on the right-hand side, it's where it says Spratling Mills, section 6, it says above it, preliminary plat.
And my question, my thinking was seeing this in relation to all the other phases, see how the road system, water lines, et cetera, tie in. I understand that we're just approving this, but I'm just looking for a visual. To help me understand how all that ties in.
This is where,
So that's the part that ties back in,
yeah.
the funds. Yeah, if you look at the site location map, you come in and then you get the punch out.
Yes, so this is what's there now, this top part, and this is, so this dead end is what they're running down through here to connect back to Spratling Mill Drive.
Yep.
So this part this section, this phase 6. And then there's other future phases down this way.
Without having the maps in front of me, if you can't figure that out tonight and you want to postpone it to the next meeting, I'll be glad to get that to you and show you how it all ties together. But without my maps, I'm not even going to be able to.
The hydrant placements will give us information about distances from hydrants, distances from water lines. Do we have enough of that information here? Or is that part of preliminary, does that become part of the file?
That I don't recall.
They have a site utility plan. It shows a hydrant at Strattonville, one, lot 50, between 50 and 49. That's just a glad thing.
I agree.
If you got a hydrant at the entrance where we've been wanting them, and then got one in the middle of the development.
Yeah, just distances.
Oh, right there's the second hydrant on the next page. Block
So they're
46 to 45. 46 and 45. Second on the bottom to the right.
correct.
And that will be the driveway, and that's for phase 7.
again, maybe not trying to legislate from the bench, but would you comfortable, or you prefer to postpone the week, or you want to ask another question?
Me personally, I think that my comfort level to decrease if we wait a week and then get a little clarification, and perhaps invite the developer and someone from our P and Z to be here.
Okay. I'll say that's we have a motion to postpone to our next meeting, with the request of some additional support from staff. Yes.
So we need a second for that?
Yes.
Second. Yeah.
No, second. Right. We have a motion to second to postpone to next week to give the board an opportunity to provide staff with some additional questions or get some additional guidance from staff and support from the planning zone board. We'll reach out also to the applicant to let them know that they want to attend the next meeting. All right, any vote?
Yes.
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 Motion carried, postponed. All right, moving to number 10, consider the SCTG IRMA PTSD program agreement for resolution. You just
The top sheet is the proposal of the insurance coverage. There's two components to the insurance coverage to meet the House Bill 451 mandate. And the second attachment is the agreement and the resolution through ACCG, which is our current insurance provider for that coverage.
This is a mandate.
Yes, so the state passed the bill, House Bill 451, it's also known as the Ashley-Wilson Act. The legislation that they enacted that counties and municipalities have to carry the two types of insurance coverage for all first responders. Currently, I think, I'm assuming how quick legislation went to play, that there's not a whole lot of insurance coverage providers. ACCG has that coverage. So I would imagine in the next year or 2 years, with the amount of entities in Georgia, we'll be able to start being competitive with bids and quotes for this coverage.
But this time it's an unfunded state mandate.
Correct.
And it goes to your county.
And we did budget for this.
Yeah.
So, we just need a motion.
need a motion to,
I make a motion to approve this as presented.
Second motion.
get a motion and a second to approve first responder PTS program coverage for a total of $46,148, beginning January 1st, 2025. All,
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
yes. Number 11, two fee increases for the health department. Anybody from the health department here? Come on up.
Hey, how are y'all doing? Good, how are
Right.
you? Hey, I'm Kelly Henson. I work with the Northeast Health District. I have Scott Staff here with me who works with the Madison County Environmental Health Office. At our last meeting, the board voted to increase some of our septic fees.
Who's board?
I'm sorry, the Board of Health.
State board.
The
Board of Health.
County Board of Health.
County.
Yes, sir. Mr. Higdon's on the board, but he's out of town today, so we were asked to come answer questions. So with per OCGA code, any fees, environmental health fees that are adopted by the Board of Health, they have to be adopted by the county commissioners before they can become effective.
Right. And I did actually have a question, in regards to the table. There was a couple of them that kind of caught my eye. You know, if you could give me your thoughts, honestly. One was and they're broken down to residential and commercial, so I'm talking general, two general fees specifically. They apply to both of them, is the re-inspections and expedited services. And when I read through this, I see expedited services as a new fee, but honestly, I just, in the re-inspection, not that I want to, I think we should be really hitting somebody punitively, but they didn't do it right the first time and they need to go out and get a re-inspection. Is this, should we have charged more? I'm not saying you have to, I'm just saying, give me your thought processes on that.
So the fee is there, because it requires another site visit. So if somebody calls in for a septic inspection and the system is not installed properly, then Scott will have to go back, to the office, return to the site at a different time. So that's to cover his time and travel to get to the site. I can tell you that, if somebody is having a problem with equipment and equipment breaks and they're not ready, we generally wouldn't charge that re-inspection fee. Because you're kind of getting somebody when they're down, they weren't expecting for their equipment to tear up. But if you have somebody that completely did not follow a septic permit, put the system in the wrong location, and is going to have to result in that visit, then that's typically when we would charge that fee.
I mean, that's fair. I just think, again, I appreciate your comment, because I wasn't thinking about a piece of equipment or something. I'm thinking somebody didn't play. They kind of tried to cheat a little bit and sneak something in, is what I was thinking.
And it's to discourage that, is to have them do the job right the first time. And I feel like building inspection, that happens as well. If somebody doesn't pass the building inspection for home, they have to come back out, but there's another fee associated with it. And then to answer about the expedited service, that is a fee that isn't charged in other counties, and I don't think that Scott is to a point where he's actually having to, we're still at a pretty good turnaround time in Madison County. It's just that if things were to get busy and we were kind of getting to the far end of the turnaround time for the septic permit, that if someone wanted to pay a higher fee, like a priority shipping, that we could have staff from another county come out and, help facilitate the work.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the fee being there, do not get me wrong. I think the changes that y'all made to me are moderate, or minimal, honestly. I would honestly, just a different approach was, on the expedited service was, if somebody fails to plan, should they have to, and I guess there's probably a split difference between, Old Ink Sally had a problem, somebody's trying to help them out, and you need to come check it, and, that's one way to look at it, and I get that, but I guess somebody else that didn't plan for it, and they're just, I need to get y'all out here to get some building, house builder happy, and should he pay more than 75, I guess is what I think. And
I think it's generally the times, and I don't know, Scott, if you can remember the last, I guess the fee's not in place here, so that's not, I'm trying to, we don't assess that fee very often, and it's just when somebody comes in, and let's just say that if they had a loan closing and they needed an existing system or a water sample, within 2 days' time, and that's typically something that we would have a 10-day turnaround, and they're, hey, can you get to it quicker? And that kind of puts that person at the front of the line.
No, that's great. That's fine. I'm not opposed to them, honestly. I thought there would be a little bit more, but I appreciate y'all thinking that way.
And this county runs, 14 counties?
It's 10.
10, oh, okay. So, and does a phenomenal job. Didn't know you until recently, but I've been very impressed with your office.
This basically brings our fee structure in line with the surrounding counties.
Yes, sir. And we've been doing this because all of our counties, we had 4 years of a pandemic. Anyway, it's been many years since we've increased fees in all of our counties, and so we're this past year we've been kind of going through around all the boards of health to just increase the fees, because that is how the staff is covered, is with the fees that are collected.
Well, from a construction background, and I say this because if there's a re-inspection, it's usually the fault of the contractor. It's not equipment failure or anything like that. It's the fault of the contractor. I say that because I'm a contractor. When it goes good for me, it's good. When it doesn't, it's bad. And on a re-inspection fee, in my mind, a reinspection fee, your field inspector's time, an hour there, whether it's commercial or residential job, is of the same day. So I would not have any reservations with the fee structure for the reinspection on residents being the same as it is for commercials, because in Madison County, most of our commercial systems out here are not gonna be larger than a 3 or 4 bedroom home.
And you're right about that. It's, I mean, because a lot of these, when you look at the fees that because we go all the way up to 9,999 gallons. I mean, we never,
Yeah.
we never have systems of that size, but we are authorized to issue those permits, so we just need to have those fees in case something does come through.
So we need a motion to approve the new fee structure.
Yes, we do.
Just have one additional question. If I'm reading this right, you're removing the tattoo body body.
Yes, sir. So that is,
Those two.
yes, sir. So we, recently, the state adopted statewide body art rules. Until this past year, we had been operating under Madison County specific rules. And so we had to adopt the state's rules. And within that, in our old rules, we were issuing an annual permit to the body artists. So they were getting a permit from the county board of health because we were having to maintain their records of their bloodborne pathogen and their CPR first aid training. So we don't issue those permits anymore because we're operating under the state's permit. And so we had to add the fee that we could administer the body art exam that we send to the state, but we needed to resend that body artist permit because they don't get that permit anymore.
All right. Any other questions? Motion?
Make a motion that the new fee structure be approved.
Second motion.
A motion and a second? Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Motion carries. I would ask, thank y'all for what you do, but I would ask if y'all, especially something like the callback and, expedite fee, you just monitor that, and if we need to make some adjustments, well, when this comes up next year or the year after, just that you'll have a better, not that you'll have a wrong answer, it's just you'll have better data to say, hey, this is really a problem, we really need to increase it, or if it's fine for you.
Okay, yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, number 12, discuss amending the fire agreement. Back on the fire services, Mark.
This one's just for discussion tonight. It'll be on next Monday night's agenda for a vote. They redlined the agreement and it's attached to their letterhead there. This obviously updates some years that were dated, but it increases their yearly allocation. In our current agreement, we have a baseline that we can fall back to as low as $669,000 to divide between the 11 fire departments and the rescue. So this just sets that baseline at the previous year's millage rate value. They're still going to request the current year value, but they want to raise that baseline, the minimum amount, to not be no less than the previous year.
Yeah.
Than the previous year's millage rate, not the previous year's allocation. So that if you have obviously a downfall in the value of a mill, they've got 2 years before that they'll see that downfall in their allocation.
Yeah.
No, I think this is saying it would be the greater of either the current year's millage,
Right.
value of this year's mill or last year's contract rate.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is probably what the 669 was at that time. It wasn't worded correctly to follow every year.
It was.
It's a good change.
Yeah, that's good. Well,
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, I guess they're presenting this, so they'll get this cleaned up, they'll sign it, stamp it prior to next week's meeting, and then we'll be presenting bids.
I don't know, I hadn't talked to anybody, I just,
That's not
I was just guessing there, but I see the intent, and it it's worded correctly, I think.
Besides the year's update, it's the meat of the change really is, they want 1%.
One
For the
bill.
contract.
1 million.
1 mil, yeah, they want 1 mil for the contract.
Mm-hmm.
And we had been operating under that we could give up to 1 mil, or there was a specific value that was listed.
No, it's always been one
It's
mil.
always been 1 million.
There was just a floor, it's just resetting the floor, so that the floor moves to last year's amount every year.
What happened is that 669 that somebody's already mentioned was the actual millage rate one year,
Yeah.
and it got put in there in that year, and it's been that same one, so they're just correcting it so that that bottom number just has moved up with the current.
It's just gonna be a rollover, it's gonna be a rollover.
It's just a rollover.
Previous year's meeting.
Yeah,
Right.
that's,
Right.
yeah.
I don't know that the value of the mill's ever gone down or is likely to.
It did one year.
Maybe in the recession, eight,
Yeah.
8, 9, 10.
It did, because we all in the fire department complained about it.
Okay.
I was back when I was really active. But that's been a long time ago, a while ago. None of us had anything to do with it.
Any appetite in, let me just ask you a question, any appetite in some sort of limit, the percentage increase off the mill, like, we had several large businesses coming in.
No, because I believe if that were the case, in my mind, if that were the case, our expectations of what the fire department would be responsible for would increase also.
Yeah, if a bigger business comes in, then all of a sudden you, depending on, we might need 2 ladder trucks in the county rather than the one we got down there. Which we don't need one right now.
Though, that is, which this would be somewhere down the road, I guess this conversation could take place, dependent on where a large industrial complex or business may be located. It may change what the primary unit serving that area would get. Does that?
Yeah.
I mean, you're more familiar with that than I.
Well, yeah, and that's based on the calls and all that kind of stuff as it is right now, but, yeah, I don't think this is a bad change. I think there's some other changes that's gonna have to be made in the future, but that also probably means too, which we talked about, is that the county's gonna have to become more involved as far as the management of that entire fire system.
The only other question I think I had was, and I'll defer to Christine or Monty on her opinion, is on number 8, I imagine the value for the bonded people that deal with the cash, is that still an appropriate value for them to be bonded, or is that number? I don't know, that's why I'm asking.
Where's it at?
It's on number 8, records, accounting, and bond. It talks about the personnel, administrative fund, we're talking about.
Should they be bonded at a higher amount?
Yeah, and I don't know if that's good, bad, or ugly, I'm just,
Probably go.
They're dealing with more money, so,
Yeah.
I mean,
That might be more, I have an opinion, but might have more of a legal issue.
I don't really know how the
I don't know if that-
cash flows.
Yeah, I don't know how that falls under like their policies on if the church is over $5,000, if they have to have their own board vote within the fire department. So I don't know what restrictions their treasurer has to spend money. Does that make sense? If their treasurer had full access to buy, then yeah, I would say that bond amount needs to be increased, but.
So, yeah.
and I realize we can't make it unreasonable.
But, I mean, that bonding is
operate.
mostly through the insurance that they give. So, which is, most everybody's got the Firemen's Association whatever insurance. And I don't think that I think it's much higher than 50,000. We could ask and just see if they want to make it higher.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to put it, and come up with an amount that increase what they got to pay for insurance, because it's significant, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're talking about two different things. So I think Derek's talking about a bond like
I'm bonded,
like
she's bonded.
Susan would have to, because she handles so much money, and we literally buy insurance to guarantee that she doesn't misappropriate things.
Correct.
Right.
Well, I think that's what Brian.
That's what is in our insurance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the bond is just part of what you buy under coverage.
Yeah. And I don't know what
If you
most,
set it too high, then you're looking at higher premium.
That's
And I'm
right.
kind of worried about going.
that's why I think we could talk to them.
Which one? The first line of that section.
Yes, that's part of their documents that they sent every year
Yeah.
before.
You just don't give it to us.
Right, there's about 5 or 6 different reports that they have to give to me before I even give them a check, and I put them in. Deadline to give them to me.
I will make a comment, of course, this would be up to them, because it's a contract service, $1 million general liability coverage is pretty low.
But, and I think that's what everybody's got.
I mean,
We've had, when I was a treasurer for Danielsville, I know ours was $1 million on that as far.
It still is, that's still what that's what still a majority of them have. I think we only have one department that has something higher
Yeah, I
than that.
mean, it's much.
But this was written in 2013.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of my comment was, you know,
And so I know that, it is, I mean, if it's low, I guess we could find out what it would take to increase it.
is there, I assume that there's a statewide or national association of volunteer fire departments.
There's and everybody pretty much belongs to that. But most of them got insurance with Volunteer Firemen's Insurance Services, which is a national insurance company type thing. And so that's what most everybody's got it, because there's very few people that will insure fire departments.
So the association carries, and they carry additional insurance on the fire training facility through that national association.
Yeah.
They were able to quote it cheaper than we were.
Yeah, and, my thing is I would hate for us to, I mean, I know we're trying to make sure we got everything covered, but I would hate for us to say in one hand that, you know, we're doing some changes here to sort of help so that they know what their income is, and then all of a sudden we start saying, well, you gotta do this to spend it. There's probably comes a time for that, but,
At least to give it off the cuff thought on that, the county is going to be protected by sovereign immunity, pretty much any claim anyway. That's really more for protection of you and the other members.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because they're a contract service.
Exactly,
anyway.
that's right, exactly.
So this would just be someone has an accident in their fire truck and go out to a thing, and I assume that they've got some hold harmless for the individual, but, you know, if you go to a fire, you're not responsible for anything.
Well, that's
quote unquote damage while you're there.
Yeah, and that's right, there's state immunities for volunteer firefighters as well, so.
but, I mean,
Yeah.
we're updating, so it's time to ask you questions.
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
Very good.
All right, so that'll be on our agenda for next week.
Yes, sir.
I encourage anybody to come up with any other questions, maybe get them with Christine, and see if she can give them more before next week. All right. Road updates. I don't have any particular thing provided to me.
We did a repair a couple of years ago on, Pleasant Acres Farm Road, and, it was a culvert repair there, and there's been some substantial settling, and now there's a dip in the road there that needs to be addressed.
But,
On, mostly Terry's end of the Macedonia Church Road, over there, there's several potholes that have reopened and they're sort of big. My wife hit one the other day.
And that was road that just was resurfaced.
Yeah, but it's a pothole, I mean, and it's been redone, but I don't know, I think that's the underneath of that road is bad. I think that we were told that.
Yeah, I've mentioned to Todd several times, there's several of the research and projects that we did that were existing potholes.
Yeah.
And it looked pretty obvious that there was no effort made to correct that.
Before,
Just-
yeah,
We just went over the top of it and there's this thing reappeared.
Right.
Where we were.
yeah.
I've already talked to Derek about this, with some concern about some debris and potential trees to fall on, I think it's in Brian's district, Langford Road.
Yes, but might be.
Or Langford Carry, everybody sees Langford Carry off of Kirkland.
all right.
It's in
We, we gave it to you because there's no curbs living on it.
All right, any statement or remarks for citizens? Additional statements, remarks for commissioners? We do have one urgent matter on my list tonight, and it is an agreement, for the Board of Commissioners to assign or accept, I'm not sure, assign the chief belongs to
Yes.
the Board of Commissioners as part of our adjustments to the water service and sewer service
Yes, so
delivery.
two weeks ago, it could have been longer now, Mr. Pruitt, and Susan, and Ben, and Todd and I all had a Zoom meeting with GIFA. And with the transition of the water department and how the GIFA notes are assigned, we have to take ownership of, the BOC has to take ownership of the GIFA notes. In the IGA, we'll discuss that the IDBA will still service those notes, we'll invoice them monthly for that payment. But we have to own the note, we have to own the account that the note is paid out of, through ACH, et cetera, and that's what this document says, it assigns that over to the BOC.
You just answered the only question I had about it, because in our allocation of the millage to the statement was that the percentage of that would be to cover the debt service. So it still will be, but this will just be under a different name.
Yes.
It will still be their responsibility.
Yes.
For that millage to cover this.
The IGA it'll be written that way for the GIFA and the bonded debt. And then internally, we discussed at the IDA meeting Wednesday that when the BOC voted for us to take over just the water, not the debt, in that discussion, the BOC discussed during the 2025 budget and millage rate work sessions that we would discuss taking over all of the debt from the IDBA, this water debt, and renegotiating a millage distribution to them. So that was also discussed Wednesday with the IDBA, and they're good with that. They understand that that's the intent down the road.
Sure. So we need a motion?
Need a motion to approve the assignment of the debt document.
I'll make the motion to approve the assignment of the debt document.
Second motion.
Any further comments, questions?
And I know nobody asked me, but I did just look it over real quickly, and I noted there's a modification agreement on that, first one. It's not listed in the list of documents under recitals in that first paragraph. I guess it's just something GIFA or whoever's putting it together missed that modification agreement. but-
GIFA did, Tammy.
Yeah, but they might want to add that one in.
We thank you, Cal.
Yeah.
And I thought you had already reviewed it.
So do we need to make the motion to amend?
Might just approve it with, clerical correction for that, modification agreement. Yes, now.
All right, so you consider that Scrivener error?
Scrivener error.
All right, then we're good.
We're
Approved?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. It's urgent matters. Executive session for real estate acquisition, personnel, potential litigation. Very well.
Nothing I have.
All right, I'll take my normal. We are adjourned.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Mark, that'd be, Christine, just a minute.
Sure.
Go run smooth. Before I get there, dude.
We weren't gonna say that.
You did, I know.